when we sat down with Blaine and we heard them, it brought such relief. We can't speak for everybody, but I felt blown away by all the considerations that was put into it. It's not perfect recommendations, but it's practical, and you know, this inquest brought us together to seek truth and share truth together. And at the end of the day, I think there's comfort in this inquest and the recommendations that are going to be implemented.
So I believe that we've really met the challenge for this, not as a coroner service, but I think as a province, to try and get the truth out and bring some comfort to the families. And I believe with the National Inquiry, we've been waiting 4 or 5 more years for this to happen, and things get forgotten. This was still fresh in everybody's mind. We were able to bring some good results to them, and I really think this was the right move to make in our province.
As you know, First Nations policing in Canada is not funded by the government of Canada. Each First Nation is basically at their own wills to find a way to fund their police services and their security services. And one of the recommendations specifically stated that we need to get some funding in place for our First Nations police services. And that's one of the recommendations that we have to start pushing with the federal government. So the federal government is working on ensuring that police services are an essential service for First Nations in all of Canada. And that's one of the recommendations that's going to impact all of the First Nations of Canada, because safety and security of our people is paramount to life.
I think there's some positive recommendations. Certainly we're going to be taking a look at those to see what we can do to implement and address the recommendations. But we've taken a lot of steps, the RCMP nationally, but specifically here in Saskatchewan, when it comes to recruiting and focusing on being able to attract more applicants to the RCMP. We stood up in August of 2022, we stood up an Indigenous recruiting unit that has been incredibly successful at attracting Indigenous applicants. And we feel that's very important as First Nations move towards self-administered policing, that in the interim we can offer a better representation of the populations we police.